I would like to welcome everyone. I'm Aron Novak from Hungary, from Budapest, and I work for a Swiss web agency with the size of a little bit more than 10 people. And I work as a developer, and we have a little Hungarian team inside this company, and I really enjoy that. It's a Swiss company, but I work for with Hungarian developers as well. So today I will talk about the performance analysis of Drupal sites. If you took a look at the description on the conference site, you have seen that I don't want to show you how to solve these problems, because you can read a lot about that. And I think most of the Drupal developers are able to do that. It's not a big deal. Sometimes it's not so complicated. If you identify the problem, then you are almost ready. And I think that's why it's important to talk about how to actually analyze a site, how to be able to report a nice audit for the client, that these are the problems, and that's it. Maybe the previous team did not do such a great job, and you can provide an audit and things like that. So, and according to my experience, the developers, at least what I have seen, not really familiar with those tools. At least in my team, I saw that some of the guys knew about that, me, some of them not so really. So I think it's quite an important topic. But first, it will be a tech talk. It was like an advance, I think, in the conference website. So we will get our hands dirty. That's not a question. But first, it's important what in the keynote there was a point about the bloated websites. Okay, it's also important for the mobile with the limited bandwidth and everything. But before you start really tweaking the details, it's very important that you know that the site is well designed, it's not bloated, so there is a chance to actually have the good user experience. It's very important. Of course, it's possible that you don't have too much effect on these kind of things, and you are just told that, okay, this site should be fast, it's not slow. But for new projects, for fresh projects, I really recommend you to read this blog post. There will be the presentation link soon on the conference site, and you will be able to click that. So it's a very good blog post about that the good performance is good design. So you can be really an expert of tweaking all the details, but in the end, if the requirements are crazy, they want to do really complicated stuff, then you are out of luck. And then that's very important. So at this session, I really try to focus on identifying problems at all levels of web application, and especially in Drupal. So first, at a high level, when you just have a URL or something like this of the site, even you don't touch the code base and nothing, you have several choices to analyze the site. There is a tool from Google, what's called PageSpeed, which is basically, I call it a best practices validator. It has a nice collection of rules, what it applies to the website, and shows you if something is wrong. In my experience, not all the rules are meaningful in every case, and sometimes the problem what it identifies is really small, and it even doesn't make sense to take too much time on fixing those, but sometimes it's really cool. For example, one thing what I have learned from PageSpeed is to optimize images in that way. Okay, JPEG is a lossy compression, we all know that, but even you can reduce the size of JPEG images without losing more quality. That's pretty cool. So I don't know, removing some metadata. I don't know what's the trick on that, but it was new for me. And there are such cool things full of that with inside PageSpeed, clever rules like that, and it's very useful. PageSpeed covers also the front end and the back end as well. The next tool, what I would like to recommend, what's also about the site from a distance. We don't know about the site. It could be, I don't know, a Joomla site or whatever. It's just testing the site. It's the Apache benchmark. It's really flexible. It can simulate many kind of traffic. And the trick is that what I would like to show you, that you can test the authenticated performance as well. After you log in your browser, you can grab the cookie data, and of course Apache benchmark can test an authenticated user as well, because if you just supply the URL for the Apache benchmark, then it's, of course, it's an anonymous user. That's it. And with Apache benchmark, you get the request per second, which is quite important. And for many Drupal sites, when you have mostly anonymous visitors, to increase this value, basically you can put a cache layer or like a proxy in front of your application, and you are ready. In many cases, when I talked to several developers before creating this presentation, they told me that performance, why do you want to talk about that? The infrastructure team maintains Varnish and we are ready. But that's such a cool situation when you mostly have anonymous visitors. But for example, at our company, we mostly work on intranets. Then for us, Varnish can do too much things. It can cache the logo, and the logo will be third-party that almost everything else is highly customized for each visitor. So HTTP request, it tests everything. It tests the whole LAMP stack. It's the first step. For example, if you see that the request per second is very high, then you know that something must be with the front end, if the client complains that it's way too slow. If you start doing benchmarks of the site, it's really important that you document everything before start tweaking. Because in the end, you want to prove to your customer that it improved a lot. That's just, okay, you tweak something, it's faster, but after all, you want to prove the results. And also, it's trivial, of course, but let's measure multiple times. Let's measure in multiple parts in several times a day and things like that with multiple configurations. So let's be very careful with the measurements, because with one measurement, with one configuration, it can be misleading. So always treat it with seriously. With HTTP requests, then what are the typical Drupalish problems, what I have seen? First one, firstly, if you are serious about performance, it's very good if you read the Drupal source code. For example, in the Bootstrap INC, you can see when Drupal does not use the cache, for example. Here it's what I highlighted. Of course, it doesn't make sense to use cache when we are at the command line. Also, the Drupal set message. Is it surprising? Maybe for some of you, If a country module does a Drupal message, the cache is skipped. It's trivial, but I have seen some production sites where the CSS and JavaScript aggregation wasn't turned on. Of course, it hurts the front-end performance. It's much more requests to do to the server. Even if it's fast, it's costly. If we have a session cookie, yeah, it's for anonymous user, it can happen. Or in Drupal 6, it's very easy to break the caching for anonymous user. In Drupal 7, it's more harder, but it's still possible. Yeah, modules can programmatically disable the cache. That's, well, just a few of them. There are a few, these are a few examples of typical Drupalish problems, but yeah, that's it. In many of the Drupal sites, the bottleneck is the database. Yeah, I'm talking about the authenticated users. Yeah, we know that with anonymous users, we have an easier question. We have this gateway data module. I think all the developers use it very often. And it's quite useful. In my opinion, when you well, actually, you can use it for performance analysis, but in some situations, it's not the best tool. For example, we had a site with a CVCRM. It means a separate database connection, and the data module is out of luck, for example. You can't really analyze the CVCRM database queries, at least by the version of what we used at that project. CVCRM connection, it was a separate connection, and it, of course, did not pass the database layer of Drupal. And you can see that, okay, I have a few queries, but maybe still the database can be a problem. I think many of you know about the slow query log of the MySQL, and it became much smarter by the time. Now it can filter for milliseconds as well. Previously, it was just like integer value set. So in many cases, I think it's good to enable the slow query log because it can identify more problems. Yeah, both of these tools should be used, but it's good to have a heads up that, okay, which one is adequate for the moment. And also for the production site, is it very good idea to install and enable a new module? I hope that on production sites, it's not the best practice to enable data module. And yeah, you have the slow query log and you can analyze it. Yeah, and we know, I think all of you have seen this with the data module. You can order the queries in descending order. Yeah, this is a typical slow query where they use the core statistics module and things like that, and it's quite a slow query. And it's just one query from the many of those what's needed to generate this page. And also below that you see the counterpart what the slow query log provides. It's pretty much the same information. You see the needed time. Of course, the MySQL slow query log is a little bit more verbose. If you are familiar with the deeps of MySQL, the slow query log can provide you a bit more information. Okay, let's talk about profiling, because with these tools you can have a wide guess where the problem is, because if you have seen that with PageSpeed module, PageSpeed tool doesn't provide you big problems. There are not so many queries to the database and they are fast. That's good, but it's possible still that the site is not so fast. Profiling is basically measuring any kind of resource usage of your application. It's quite a generic term. In the tools what I will show you, it's profiling the time usage. Well, the resource usage is not so important. If you well, it is important, but in many cases what I have seen that it was the case, the site was slow, but the server was at a very low utilization, because with intranets, what I mentioned, that I work a lot on intranets, there are not so many users, but the pages are complicated to generate, and even if the site has a few visitors, it can be quite slow. And it can be the situation for a complex site, with sites with complex logics. But anyways, profiling. not so nice. Sorry for that. That's a nasty bug in the presentation. So, about JavaScript profiling, front-end performance matters a lot, and you know that you have heard in the keynote just before this session. And JavaScript is often the a reason that the site is slow. For example, I have seen a project where the developer does not know too much about Drupal, and they started to manipulate the DOM, the markup basically from JavaScript, and they customized it a lot. But from JavaScript, he knew JavaScript well, and more or less well, and he started to customize the site from JavaScript, and it resulted in a very resource-hungry JavaScript code. So that's it. I think most of the JavaScript debuggers can provide you profiling as well. And that's it. You will see what are those JavaScript functions, what requires the most of the time in the page rendering. It's important. If you analyze a site, I think it's good to check all the layers before saying anything. Because maybe you find a problem in the JavaScript layer, but maybe there are some bigger problems in the other layers. So I think it's always good to try to have the big picture, not just focusing on one layer. Okay, and sorry for that. I wanted to insert an image. Prezi showed me that it's loading, and I deleted it. Something went wrong. I'm sorry for that. So it's basically in the image you can see the Chrome's developer tools, and with Chrome you have a built-in JavaScript profiler, but it's the same for Firebug. If you use Firebug, it's also a JavaScript debugger built-in Firebug, and I think it's quite a good lesson to use that. And it was an example of a site where the JavaScript usage was quite high. That's it. I'm sorry for this. About PHP profiling, I don't know how many of you use primarily debug module, devel module for debugging, and not using a tool, a PHP tool like Xdebug for debugging. So the question is how many of you use some kind of PHP extension like Xdebug for debugging in the day-to-day work? Yeah, quite a lot. Okay, that's cool. And maybe those guys who use Xdebug, for example, they use it for profiling as well. Because when you receive a project, maybe from inside your company, or from a legacy project from another company, basically you have a black box. Maybe the site contains tons of modules. Do you remember the image with the tons of layers and whatever? And if you start to to try to read the module of the custom code, it can a huge time. So it's a very good practice to create a profile for your PHP code, and you will see what are those functions, what are really poorly written. Because if you read the source code, you might find very badly written code pieces, but maybe it's not the reason for the slowness. If it's ugly, it doesn't mean that it's slow anyways. And that's very good to, before starting to refactor some parts, it's good to see if is it the real reason for the slowness. So as you see, and I recommend a tool, this Cache Grind. It's handy to analyze the output of the Xdebug profiles. And you can see the name of the functions, how many times it's called, and things like that. And it's very useful for me. And as you see, it's a typical profile for a database bottleneck at the Drupal site. Of course, often it's the database and what's not slow, not fast enough for us. Yeah, and that's why we try to use as many key value storage as possible when the performance really matters. Okay, we can use profiling for PHP. We profile JavaScript, we can profile PHP, and it was quite new information for me that you can profile even your MySQL queries, because, okay, you identify the slow query with the query log, but why is this query slow? Okay, you can have some tips, ideas based on common sense that maybe the index is missing on that column what that query uses, but it's not sure. Yeah, from a certain MySQL version, you have the ability to profile your MySQL query. If there is something really weird, you can use that. I'm not sure if is such a tool what's very, very widely used, but I don't know, in some corner cases, it can be helpful. I just wanted to show it to you to really emphasize that all layers of the web application should and can be profiled. Usually, I think for Drupal sites with debugging JavaScript and PHP, you are okay. And especially, it's a little bit complicated because this kind of profiling is per session. So somehow you can enable it in settings PHP, maybe. I haven't tried it out, but that's it. So it's not so easy. And yeah, and also we have, I think all of you know about the explain feature of MySQL, and it can explain the execution of the query, what helps quite often. For example, with profiling, you can spot the locking problems, where of course, with after the MyISAM era, we don't have so much problems with locks, but it's still possible that the query is slow because of some kind of strange locks. Okay, we can profile all the layers basically of the web application. That's pretty cool with Drupal. But still, okay, you created a copy of the production environment on your local computer, and it seems everything is perfect. But what can be the problem? We had some examples where the underlying system was not adequate for web hosting. Most of the time, what I have seen, it was the input-output performance. Because, of course, cloud hosting is very popular, but if it's not done properly, it results in a horrible input-output performance. And that's what I have seen at some of our clients, that they use the hosting system for since a while. Before they contacted us, they choose some providers, and but they did not really consider the real needs of the Drupal site, what they had. So yeah, if you can check out the resources of the box, like this VM stat tool provides you information about is the machine swapping, what about the CPU usage, whatever. Yeah, you can check the performance of the storage with the HDParm command, what I really like, and yeah, maybe you can check the number of connections, because maybe it's kind of normal that the site is slow when the production site is slow when you have really a lot of visitors. That's it. And one note about this analysis of the underlying box. I had a case where I told to the client that the hosting is okay, there is nothing bad with that. It's fast enough. But it wasn't true, unfortunately, because I measured a few times and I thought it's okay. But the case was that, I don't know, occasionally, very rarely, the I/O performance dropped to a horribly low level. So let's be very careful about measuring the performance of the box. So choose quite a long period to do the measurements, and measure it often. So it's not so easy to determine if the underlying system is good enough for your application. There can be surprises about that. Yeah. So I told you that it's a text session. It was already, but now I prepared with a little example. I will try to show you these tools in action. Of course, this example is very simple. Together we will try to identify why this site is slow. Oh yeah, it's a Drush script in the repository. If you want to participate, you can clone this repository and whatever, but please, if you want to be part of the game, do not really analyze the Git commit diffs, because of course it's a small site, and if you read the whole source code, it's quite quick. It's really evident that why the site is slow. So yeah, it's like just like a playground to show all these tools, and not really to, for a big site, it's not really possible to read everything, but yeah, for this one it is. Okay, let's start with the coding part, or I don't know, not the coding, but this real action part. So, the microphone. So I will clone this repository, I will create the site, and we will try out these tools together. Okay, let me switch to the console. Okay, I have the DCA folder. This repository is called my site. I have the repo. Oops. Yeah, I have already the repository cloned. Okay, here we are. Yeah, and that's it. We can clone the repository, it's already cloned, but yeah, you can clone the repository. We have this Drush makes script inside. Okay, and you have seen that there is an installation profile, what it requires, and yeah, it's also from GitHub. It's another GitHub repository. So I separated the platform, the platform from the profile, and yeah, we grabbed the latest Drupal core. Okay. No, I don't want to do this. Sorry. I have the repository URL here. Okay, I cloned the repository, and we have it again. Sorry, just to show the. We have the Minefield site repository, and then I will run this Drush make script now. Okay, I have this site. It's a symbolic link to my document root, and I will run this script. It's a symbolic link. Okay, home, DCAA, Drupal Camp Alpe-Adria, Minefield site, and we have the Minefield site make file. No, I need to create a directory before, like DCAA. Demo, okay, and I execute this Drush make script. And this is Minefield site make. Okay, yeah, in the current directory. Okay, it downloads the stuff. Here we are. We need to install this site. Also with Drush, that's the usual stuff. Drush site install. I don't care about the site name. We can have set the account password to be able to log in. It's just a demo, and we supply the database URL, which is just demo local host, and I have a Minefield database. Okay, we can install the site. What? Oh, sorry, I need to provide a profile as well. Is the Minefield site profile, But why? I can't pass them. But why the password is not the same what I try to execute? Just a demo, but what's this? I'm sorry for that. This demo, it's not smooth. It's not smooth enough. It's just a demo. What's this? Just a demo. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I can't password. Just a moment. I hope I will figure it out. If anyone has a suggestion why it tries to use not a good password, because I don't really see. Is it? Yeah. Is it visible? Yeah. It's big enough. No, sorry. Ah, yes. You mean this? No, it's not like that. Okay, I have a site already created, and I will use that. It seems it's easier. Sorry, I have to switch off my proxy I use. Okay, then I will have this site created. Okay, I have this site created at localhost. Oh no, sorry for that. This demo is not really cool. Oh, what's that? Oh, maybe they. Let me check one thing. Okay, the name server. I need to change it. After connecting to the Wi-Fi, the name server was rewritten, and of course it can't connect to the site. I'm sorry. Yeah, because I use a local name server to map over the .local sites. Okay, then finally I have the site and it loads. Okay, we have this site and it's quite slow. Even on this laptop what doesn't do anything else, it's quite slow. Okay, we have this big question why the site is slow, and a few photos about Ljubljana. Okay, cool. Let's try to create a JavaScript profile first on this page. As I told you, in Chrome, it's built in, of course, in Chromium as well. You can go to the developer tools. Sorry, it's Hungarian, but not this UI, it's cool. So you can go to the profiles tab of the developer tools, and you can collect the JavaScript CPU profile. Okay, I started. It's recording, and I don't know. I read one of these nodes. And I stop. Okay, here we are. We have found the first mine on this site. Basically, if you have seen, there is this custom JavaScript code what requires a lot of time to execute. That's huge, actually. So let's take a look. What does this JavaScript file do? We can go back to the console. We can have this minefield site. Okay, where is this file? It shows us. No, not the path. Then we can have where it is. Yeah, I just put minefield site.js. Yeah, okay, it's in profiles. Exciting. What's that? Okay. Very important calculations, really, but at least it's well documented. That's it in the header, in the comment, if you can't read. Okay, so it's a kind of nonsense. I just wanted to create some dummy code what's really resource hungry. It just loops through with some elements and do some crazy calculations. It's not so right, and it's in the profiles. So I will comment out this JavaScript file. We tested the JavaScript profiling with this, and this myfield site profile. I can, not in the profile, but in the info file. We have this, these tweaks, and okay, no, we don't need that. Okay, and I think it will be enough to remove it. All right, then maybe the JavaScript calculation is now, it's much faster because the site does not have to do all this nonsense in JavaScript. But still, the site is quite slow. Then, okay, we created a JavaScript profile and identified one JavaScript code what's basically nonsense, and we could remove it. Okay, but the PHP is not fast enough. And if you want, we can try the Apache benchmark with the HTTP minefield local. We can try it, benchmarking. It's creating the benchmark. And here we are. It's like, the number of requests per second it's horrible. Yeah, it's too slow. So, but why? Of course, there are some other mines in this site. Let's create a PHP profile. With PHP, with Xdebug, you can, it is PHP, Xdebug, you can configure it in the xdebug configuration file, and you can either enable the profile always, or you can use a trigger in the URL to create the profile. Okay, and let's try it out. I will provide a trigger in the URL, and we will see if we find some serious problems again. Xdebug enable is the trigger. Oh, which one? I will see. Okay, it loads again. The default directory for these kind of profiles is a temp directory. Okay, so I will start cache green with the newly generated profile. Oh no, I need to find where is this cache green file? What's created? Cache green. Oh no, cache. Maybe it wasn't generated. Maybe it's not the proper trigger. Is debug enabled then? Maybe. We load it again and we check if it's created. No, it's not created. What's that? Okay, we check this. Oh, sorry. Yes. Yes, it's in this machine. Just a second. But I'm sorry. It's was normally it should create this. Yeah, it's Xdebug profile exactly. I tried it properly the first time, but it did not create the profile. Yeah, normally it should be like this. Okay, I try to like this is the profile. Oh, we have the cache green out. Maybe something is wrong with the URL you write. I don't know. It was supposed to create the profile before. Anyways, no problem. We have the profile, and I can show you how does this work with the cache green. Okay, we have the profile. It's a bit complex output, but you can order the results, for example, by the self time. The self time means what's the time what the function spends, function needs to execute itself. It doesn't include such functions what that function calls. With self function, we see with the PHP stream socket client is the highest, the most resource hungry function, but then we don't have a guess. But fortunately, we have this all callers tab where we see which function calls. This one is a minefield site tweaks init file. Okay, we can open this file and check out what's wrong. Okay, not okay. Navigate there, sites, minefield, profiles, minefield site. And we have the modules. It's in the modules. It's the minefield site tweaks, yes. I have a custom module, minefield site tweaks. And in this case, it creates a HTTP request it could be an API endpoint. I created a little script that just waits and returns nothing. But in fact, it's quite common that an application creates an API request and maybe it's not cached or maybe not cached properly, something goes wrong, and it's often that some kind of external resource usage leads to poor performance. And what we could do with this, of course, we are not talking about how to solving the problem, but what we could do is just to cache it properly or whatever. So it's easy anyways to eliminate. At the moment, I will just recreate the profile like this, and then the function will won't execute the heavy part. Okay, I close the profile and I refresh it. Oh, it's much faster. Okay, where is it's the profile? We have this cache green output again. Maybe it's a new one, yeah. With this one, the profile looks differently with self. Okay, that's quite, now it's like a normal Drupal site where the PDO statement execute is the most time-consuming stuff. That's it. That's normal. Okay, but anyways, we have this minefield site config exit call, which is not so nice. There is another mine in that function, and we could eliminate that as well. Okay, I have talked about Apache Benchmark. We can run it again, and we will see that the performance increased a lot. It's not perfect, but it's much better. Minefield local, local. Yeah, it's very much better. Where are the number of requests? Yeah, it's above 1 per second. Yeah, it's very much better than previously. All right. Usually it's not so easy, of course. But I think it's very good to analyze all the layers with profiling and everything. And I think these kind of tools can dramatically reduce the time to find the performance problems. And as I told in the beginning, I think even if the client does not require you to provide an audit document, it's very important to measure everything, write down everything before start to tweak the site or the hosting environment or whatever, and you can provide the facts to your client that the site performed like this, and now it's way much better. So that's what I wanted to show you. I hope that some of these tools were new to you and will be useful for you, and I will encourage you to explore these and use it. And I'm sorry for the troubles during the demo. As usual in the demos, it can happen. And before the demo, you try it, and of course it works. So sorry for that. And if you have any questions about the session or the tools or whatever, I can answer these now. No questions? No, then maybe we will have a time for the lunch, I think, for the lunch break. So thank you for coming to the session, and that's it.